Recently, on Achill Island in County Mayo, there has been a dramatic increase in the number of sightings of basking sharks. This despite considerable interest in basking sharks and the almost forgotten history of the Achill shark fishing industry. Its story began in 1947 and it reached its peak in 1952 when 1,808 sharks were caught during the hunting season. By 1984, the annual catch had reduced to just a mere handful. 1984 was also the year a film crew came from UTV to tell the unique story of the shark hunters of Achill Island. Unaware at the time, the TV cameras captured the last shark ever to be commercially captured. Their story focused on the last remaining fishing crew, brothers Pat and Charlie Fadgen and Brian McNeill. 35 years later, Brian is one of the last remaining people to be able to tell the story of the shark hunting experience.
In the year 54, it may well be remembered when 50 shark fishermen landed in Ken.
Yeah. I remember when we made the Shark Hunters of Achill for Channel 4 television, UTV, and Paddy was singing the shark song over there. Paddy always had a glint in his eye and he was great cracking. There were great old days. We had great times in the pub with the film crew and all. And it would always be a sing-song. And Paddy would be the forefront of the singing. Great days, great memories. I came in 1972 here. I was from Monaghan, Castlebreen in County Monaghan. And the first few weeks I was fishing out there in the Curragh. We were hauling salmon, so Charlie Tom was up on the bank, he was the spotter, and I was in the Curragh with Patrick Mack and Tony, and I'd be standing up trying to mesh the salmon with a paddle, and Charlie Tom, he was saying he's behind. Now behind was at the shore, but I was always looking behind and out of the Curragh into the water, and then next thing he's beyond, he's abroad, he's within. And I was going around in circles out of the Curragh nearly every single day, and I'd swim ashore into Pollaropa and they'd come and pick me up, and I'd have to sit in the wet clothes until they dried because there was no going ashore. It was a good old laugh. It was a hard way to learn the lingo, so it was. Oh yeah, they were great days. Hard work, but great times, you know. Money was great money for shark. Nobody had to go away from this part of the island, like from around here, like, because the sharks kept them going in the 50s and 60s before I came here. But even in the 70s, when the drift salmon started, drift netting, the lads were here. They were all coming ashore with boxes of salmon here, and putting them on cars and lorries on the way over out to the sound with them. Every morning, 9, 10 o'clock on, boats coming in and unloading salmon. Great days, like, you know. The first station there was, you see that first rock sticking up? That would only be used at high water. That was the first station. That was the Horse. And then the next station was the Lazy Corner. And the next one was in the corner there was Pollaropa. And then there was the Chain. The Chain was also called the Hole, and then there was the High Whelan, and then out where the point is, that's all you can. And the next one then was the High Hawser, and then the next one was Gubgarra, and the last one was the Black Cove. So,
And which of those is the best?
the best was the High Whelan. High Whelan was pot of gold. That's where everybody wanted to fish their sharks, but you took it on your turn. As soon as the net was untied from the High Whelan, there was a man waiting to tie his net there. A man waiting to get the best fishing, you know. Yeah. You see it again there now. The shark was going wild because the camera crew were in the hut actually when the shark hit. The shark was hit out there, and it took them, I'd say, 40 minutes to get ready and to make their way out the cliff with all their equipment. So by the time they got out there, the shark was doing handstands. He was smashing his tail in the water, and like, we had an awful job to kill him, but we done it. but it made it extra dangerous work for us. That was the last shark that was caught. We didn't kill any more after '84. It was a big drop from the '70s. Like we'd have over 100 in the season in the '70s, early '70s, '72, '73. We always had over 100, 130, 140. Well, the livers were processed over in Porcine Harbour, Jim O'Gorman and his crew, and the shark fins were dried on the pier. I think they were sent away to Hong Kong for shark fin soup, and the oil went all around the world to different buyers. Well, Charlie Tom and his brother Eddie was in the US Navy. He was involved in the Korean War, and he was a ship's carpenter. But he came back here in the 50s, and himself and Charlie started off making curries in here in the shed here behind me. Eddie died in 1968, and Charlie made, I'd say about, from then in 1968 on, he made about 40 curries in here. And there used to be lined up out there 6 or 8 curries waiting to be tarred, waiting to be covered with canvas and tarred. And all the stuff was here. In here, I used to help him in odd time because I was a chef. I wasn't in here with him, but I helped him bend the hoops and for the oak hoops for the ribs of the curragh, and clinch the nails, because you had to have somebody under the curragh when he was hammering the nails in on the deal planks that were the outline of the curragh. So I could be under the curragh like with a clasping the nails, the copper nails, and bending them up. Like people bought them from Galway, and he made a lot of curries for. He was inundated, like he couldn't make all the curries that they wanted, like. But they're still around. His curries are still around. I have one up there, and just up in the garden there, and you made a great job. The curries, the great balance in them. You could stand up on them easily, like as it was going along. You wouldn't have to, you wouldn't have to balance yourself that much. Like you could stand up on them. They were great curries. The ones you're killing the sharks had to have a flat bottom in the stern, but the other ones had what you'd call a skip stern. Like the stern would be out of the water, so it wouldn't drag, because they were rowing the curries. So if you had a straight stern, you were dragging water, but most of the fishing curries had a skip stern, like the ones that were fishing the salmon, because they needed a bit of speed, So there was 2 different curries. The one for killing the sharks was wider, and heavier, but the ones for hauling on the salmon, you had to be fast coming back, because the salmon was half a ring, and the salmon would come out along the shore, and the spotter up on the bank would tell the men in the curragh to haul. That means pay out the rest of the net in a ring and tie it up on the bridle at the shore. So the salmon were going around in the ring then. So you went into the ring and just threw a paddle in and they meshed, or else you hauled them onto the shore. We didn't haul them onto the shore unless there was a good few in it. Like, we'd mesh them.
So why did the number of basking sharks in Irish waters fall? Brian thinks he may know the reason why.
Every boat had about 2 miles of net, and the drift net was on top of the water, and it was about 45 meshes deep. That's a good depth down. So the sharks were going into the drift nets, and they'd roll up in the drift nets. They'd start spinning when they go into the net, and the boatmen would come and cut the net on each side and just sew it up, and the shark was let drown, like he'd down to the bottom. He couldn't get out of the net then, and that's really what happened to the shark fishing. That's my opinion anyway. And because we were fishing sharks in Kim Bay, but we couldn't follow them out because our nets were tied to the shore, and we had to wait until the sharks came in. There was a few boats, I think, down the south, and for a small while here those 4 boats had harpoons on them, but sharks had already been on the waning out, like you saw. They didn't catch that many with the harpoons. There was 4 boats here, and there was, I think, 2 in Galway and 2, I think, in Kerry. That's all. There was nobody else fishing sharks, only us out of the Curragh. That was all. Well, the biggest danger was that the toe pins, like on the Curragh, they are like this. They're for where the paddles go in. So if the mesh went over the toe pin, then you were in trouble, because the shark could dive. He was always trying to get away, so he could pull the Curragh over. That was one of the biggest dangers. And the other danger was his tail. Like, you always stayed away from the tail. If you got him, you held the shark by the head all the time. Yeah, the meshes were in the Curragh, and you were kneeling on the meshes. So he was swinging with his tail. His tail was slapping in the water all the time. So when you killed him, you'd know he has vertebrae the whole way down his back, about the size of a football, and there's about an inch in between each vertebrae. And when you put the spear into the shark, you get him in the vertebrae. This white spout goes like milk, goes up in the air, and his eyes turn in his head. His eyes are not black anymore; they're white. So you know he's gone then. You know. There was one incident, and they always put it down to they were fishing at Sunday. They should have been at mass, but there were three of them were hospitalised. Charlie, Tom, Patrick, Mac and Little T. The 3 of them were in hospital. They went out, the shark tumbled the Curragh over, and they couldn't swim. None of them could swim, but they just somehow or another scrambled onto the rocks. And Patrick O'Malley, Packy Shesh, was he was the spotter up on the cliff, and he had to come down and rescue them and get them to the county hospital in Castlebar. That happened before I came here. I think it was 68. You'd have to ask Packy. I think it was 68 that happened. Yeah, but Charlie Tom was in hospital for a week. The other 2 were, Patrick and Tony, were let go within a couple of days. That was the biggest accident that I heard about anyway. But there was nobody ever drowned in Kim, as Paddy Kelly says in the video. There was St. Patrick blessed Kim and said that nobody had ever drowned, and nobody has ever drowned in it. Touch wood. This is the ruin here of Charlie Tom's hut. There are 2 sections here. This is the fireplace, and the bunks were here. Because the fishermen used to sleep overnight here. It was so busy with the sharks. O'Malley's crew slept here. Scott's slept there. And Sweeney's crew slept over there. And the children used to bring them back the bread and the tea and the milk, and they'd have the reeds here in these 3 places. Big storm, I think it was 92, or big storm in the 90s anyway, wiped this hut away. Pity to see it like that now, but that's the way it is. No, I was delighted to see the sharks back again now this year, and hopefully they'll keep increasing in numbers, and I think they will, because as I said before, there's no more drifting the salmon, and that can only help the sharks. And even though I killed a lot of them, I'm glad to see them. I'm glad to see them here now, and I'm glad there's nobody killing them anymore.
Where southwest is prevailing by night and by day, along with it taking the perfume from perching that's good for potatoes, for corn and hay. Some say that the sharks are as plenty as ever, and more say the killing is thinning them out. O'Keefe's won't miss them, for dogfish will do them, if we could only export them instead of the stout. Shin and Mead.